So we're going to do this before I lose my courage. This is the Ruby Garnet Show, by the way. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please check that disclaimer down below because you are... I know it's hard to believe, but we have this awesome thing called free will. It's free. It's literally free, right? We make wonderful or horrible decisions based on, like, even right now, I'm making a decision, right, to show up for y'all and myself. All right, let's do this. So I'm doing my thing, being a parent, because parenting is fun and fun. And I'm being a parent, and I'm doing do, and I realize, like, well, God damn it. Some of the things from bygone times of my childhood, my adolescence, is kind of still playing out in my life as an adult. I'm responding to adult situations as a high schooler. I know, really awkward and uncomfortable. Way too much. No one wants to admit something like this, ever. But and this is why I really love philosophy, psychology, personal reflections, because you explore all kinds of cool stuff about yourself that help you become a better human being. Being human's naturally messy. You cannot avoid it. So if you don't like healing, well, this is definitely not the place for you. Because in order to heal, we need to have personal insight into ourselves. So, all right, let me get comfortable. But basically, okay. So, all right, let me give you some context. So, I love my parents, and I will love them for the rest of my life. And being a mom, I understand that they were doing the best they could. They really were. They were just holding on for dear life. And so growing up, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this for you. Because I promised myself I'd be a good role model. This is hard. My brain's shutting down because it doesn't want to admit to you that I'm a flawed human being. But we're doing this. We are. It just might take a little longer. Because to admit this means I'm flawed, and that's okay. We are allowed to be flawed. So sometimes I'll be talking to my partner and we'll have conversations. And he's like, well, I'm not your dad. Well, why do you have to act like that? And I remember we had a recent conversation about intentions, and he said, like, why do you automatically assume that I have, like, I am a certain way? Like, why are you making assumptions about my intentions when I ask you a question? I was talking about this whole YouTube stuff, and he said, are you getting any viewers? And I thought, like, I was like, it's like, it's not always about the money. And he's like, why are you assuming that when I ask you about your viewers, that I'm inquiring about whether this is a real job or that if you're getting money about this? And he's like, and then we had a deeper conversation. And he said, why are you doing this? Like, why are you actually doing it? And I said, well, I just want to have a positive impact on other people. He said, well, that's good. Like, but why did you think that I was assuming that what you're doing has to now have money attached to it? And I didn't admit to him then at that conversation, but I had this realization that growing up, I was strongly encouraged by a lot of different people to have a real job. And this had a negative impact on me because in order to have a real job, I had to literally pursue work that I didn't really want to do, but looked good on paper. And I got really good at it. I just did because type A, B type, and wanting to people please type. And I didn't pursue the things that made me the happiest because they weren't real jobs. And it wasn't just my parents, it was just other people in my life that were like always pushing me to go a certain direction because it was the better choice. And I never felt like I was allowed to be myself without money being attached to it. Like it had to have a purpose, like a money attached purpose. And I think that impacted my self-value, my self-esteem in a negative way because I could never pursue the things I loved unless it had money attached or there was a guarantee that money would flow from it. And if you look at writers, if you look at any creative person, they have to do a lot of work first before money happens. But ironically, if you think about it, it's the same thing in the mental health field. You have to do a shit ton of work before you get any money. And it's not guaranteed. It's the same. It's just literally the same. It really is. It's way worse because you're not paid for internships. You have to go a shit ton in debt. So why do all that work? It's really not a real job. It's not a real job. There's no guarantee for real money. No, it's not. No, it's not. You have to pretend. I have to look. Like, you literally have to present yourself in a certain way. Like, there's a lot of toxic work environments, and you really literally have to be a people pleaser to survive. And as a people pleaser, that wasn't really helping me feel good about myself. We're not gonna go deep diving on that though. But it was interesting. It was so interesting to realize, like, I felt like I had to defend any choice I made, right? Because if it didn't have money attached, then I had to defend it. You know, I remember when I dropped out of my master's level degree. It was a big deal in my family, such a big deal. Like people kept on telling me, like, you can go back and go back, just go back, just go back, go back, go back, go back, go back, 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 and finish it. And I was like, no, I don't want to. It's not making me happy. I don't want to do it. No, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. I don't like it. I hate it. I don't want to do it. It makes me miserable. I hate it so fucking much. But there's a lot of pressure in going back, and then sometimes I still feel that pressure to go back to school. It's like winning the lottery, but you're being pressured to go back to school. It's like the lottery. Fuck that shit. All for being miserable. All for being miserable. I'd rather be an intuitive wellness guide. Sorry for the face. But it's true. I mean, I think that it was all meant to be, including dropping out from school, including everything. But the part in my brain that's from high school is needing to defend myself, feeling like other people are attacking my decisions, and that people's intentions about how they like if they phrase something about what I'm doing, then there's negative intentions about it, and it's really hard for me to trust other people. I got targeted a lot, elementary through high school. I really did. I was really heavily bullied, and it was really difficult to trust people, and that carried through to my adulthood. Like, I have a hard time trusting people, like a shit ton. And with my partner, there's trust issues come up a lot. But we still just try to do our best. We still try to be kind to each other. We still try to be honest with the other about these trust issues. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. And I honestly, like, even though trust issues still pop up for me, I trust him the most. And I do. Like, I know we have issues. And it drives me nuts. The trust issues still pop up, even though I trust him the most in my whole everything. And I know a great many of us would be like, well, when we're in a relationship, that shit shouldn't exist. Like, when we're in a relationship, it should be perfect. It should feel good all the time. And more often than not, most of us are still trying to figure stuff out. And if you're constantly bailing because of trust issues, then you need to ask yourself, like, is this, like, you have to, before you bail, you need to check in first. You should always check in first. Is this stuff from my elementary, my high school, from my childhood? Like, what's going on here? Like, really, like, I mean, we have high rates of divorce in this country, and I always wonder about that. Like, is it because we think, like, if I go to the next best thing, everything's gonna be better? Like, we have this whole sense that love should be really perfect and beautiful all the time, and that's not it. It feels good, don't get me wrong, love feels good, but so does stability. And so when you stick it out with, and you try to figure and work things out and have arguments and have conversations and constantly try to work things out, because I think honestly the one that's the most trustworthy is the one that's going to make things work out, or try and have conversations with you. The one that just shuts down and doesn't want to have a conversation with you, that's the one you should probably be concerned about. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a girl with trust issues who is trying her best every single day. And that's my whole conversation about this whole thing. I know that I think this is my thought. This is my thought. And this is kind of why I left the mental health field. We like to think that, okay, that this is the view that is put on mental health workers, that we have to be kind of like tapestries. We can't be imperfect beings. We can't be flawed. It's such an effed up system. We can't be human around these people. We can't want to connect and bond. We're social human beings. We learn by paying attention to what other people are doing and what works for them. And we are social human beings who need to connect. So the whole mental health field to me seems like a bunch of like, how would you boo 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 boo. I mean, like, seriously, like, you want us to disconnect. No, I know we need professional boundaries, but that's not the same as like connection. You can connect to have a professional relationship with someone. You can be professional and still be messy and still be this imperfect human being. Like the fact that we have to act like we have no flaws whatsoever is a bunch of bullshit. And it stinks real rotten in the mental health field. I'm sorry, but it's so fucking true. Do you see that? I really try hard, my best, to not display my personality. But guess what? That's a good luck with that thing. That may me possibly I'm into good health and to losing. Until the next conversation, and hopefully you don't have to suffer through. I'm sorry, Kali. Kali's my favorite person. I always just like being goofy and weird too. So that's what happens when you work with a lot of kids. When you work with kids, you tend to just be goofy and weird, and you are allowed to be yourself more often with kids, and I just like that. I like being myself. I really do. And that is a life lesson that you learn about kids is they feel the most comfortable with you when you're authentic and real. And so I hope you feel comfortable. So I'm not going to pretend, or at least I'm going to try absolutely my hardest not to pretend. So for reals, I'm gone. Bye, adios, and Toulouseies. For realsies.